response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought?
All right, welcome to the show today. I'm your host, Doug Crow, with the Author Your Brand Show. We feature the most interesting people you haven't met yet. You're going to meet one today. And I'm telling you, this guy he's probably one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. He's a former Heisman Trophy candidate. He's been on pro football, bunch of teams there. Just a super great guy. And boy, his resume is so long, I can't go through the details of it, but I want to bring in the show today my good friend, Mr. George Jones. There he is coming on. How you doing, George?
I'm doing great, Doug. I appreciate the kind words.
You bet. My pleasure. Hey, let me start by saying some statistics, and I'm going to give a little hint what we're going to talk about, but not going to reveal the whole thing.
Okay.
And don't answer this question because you already know the answer.
Okay.
The question is, and this is for the audience, what do these things have in common, right?
Yes.
Teen suicide, drug abuse, runaways, right? What do those three things have in common other than that happens to the kids? What is the one thing there? What is it going to be? Well, we're going to find out today talking with Mr. George Jones. So before we get to that, I want to hear about your past, your history a little bit, George. I mean, we'll get into the childhood stuff, but let's start off with the fun stuff. People know you for being a NFL great and been on which teams are Steelers and San Diego.
Steelers, Jaguars, and the Browns.
Wow, we love Browns, of course. Were you with them when they were in Cleveland?
Yes.
Great.
They just come back, and that first year they drafted Tim Couch as the quarterback.
All right.
Out of Kentucky.
And what position did you play?
Running back.
Running back, Speedy Gonzalez. Yes. That's great.
Yes.
What was the most fun thing about being an NFL player?
I would say the camaraderie with the teammates.
Yeah.
And the practices and just sitting in the locker room, just talking. And I know it's hard for people to kind of grasp that, but the locker room is so tight. Yeah. You're with these guys so much. They're more your family than your actual family because you're spending more time with them than you're spending with your girlfriend, your wife, and your kids.
Right. Wow. So, camaraderie, would you always talk about the game and stuff, or what was the camaraderie? What do you guys talk about?
Well, let's say if we had like a running drill where we would do offense against defense. So if somebody got run over or somebody got juked or somebody got embarrassed in practice, people will probably talk about that. Or we may talk about what's going on for the game that's coming up that weekend, or somebody may say, oh, you guys want to go get something to eat, or, because it's just with a big old locker room with so much, diversity, you got, pockets of players here, pockets over there, because you got the young players who, are not married, possibly don't have kids. Then you got the middle age who are married. Then you got more veterans that have families and being in the community and all that. So you got three different levels of how people interact with each other. So, mostly the young people stay with the young people, middle age stay with middle age, and the vets stay with the vets.
Sounds like high school.
Pretty much.
Yes. It's like little cliques there, huh?
Yes, for sure.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I know you've had an amazing past, and I'd love for you to share with the audience. It wasn't such a bed of roses of just being a good athlete and getting into the NFL. It's a lot of young boys' dreams, but you had some especially hard challenges. Do you want to give us a few minutes on what your background like?
Yeah, I'll give everybody an overview. So I'm just like typical African-American kid. I'm a snotty-nosed kid that grew up in Woodlawn Homes in Greenville, South Carolina. Just like most kids who had a single-parent home, which I did, just had a mom and had two brothers and a sister. And, times were tough, didn't have a lot of money. My mother had a 7th grade education. So we didn't have a lot. We had to, rely on the federal government for assistance throughout, my first 18 years of living. But at that time, that's all we knew. We knew we didn't have a lot, and we just stayed in our lane and stayed at what we do. But, having to grow up like that, you have to grow up quicker than you want to.
Right.
And then, I I hate to admit, well, I wouldn't say I hate to admit, I seen drugs, prostitution, alcoholism, domestic violence, being bullied by my own family members, myself. So, as a young person, you see all that, and people don't understand the trauma that goes with you the rest of your life and when you become an adult. And most people wonder why single parent homes with kids, why the kids end up turning out bad with having, a bunch of pregnancies and, drug addiction and selling drugs, just all that because, they don't have that father figure or male figure in the home to
Mhm.
connect everything.
So if you haven't guessed, folks, that was a connection on the quiz today, which is what do those things have in common, right? Suicide, drugs, and runaway kids. The statistics are like 60 to 70%, all those come from fatherless homes, right?
Fatherless homes, and most people probably wouldn't believe that because they look at the parents in the home. Most people would look at, okay, the mother are nurturers most of the time,
Yeah.
but for some reason, I think fathers. I'm just guessing. I'm not 100% on us that just I don't know if it's the mentality of being a discipline or whatever it is that the studies have that if a dad is there, life is better for the family and life is better for the kids. Because I need to look up a study and see what is it when the mother is not in the home and it's just the father.
Yeah,
And
there's not enough research on that because it's
yeah,
90% it's always the mom.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's the whole. I'm going to guess here, but I think it's the just having the role model masculine
Mhm.
thing, and it's you got to have if you don't have if you only have one, it's by nature it's imbalance, right? It's
Yes,
nature we're balanced as a family. So when it's imbalanced, it's imbalanced.
yes.
How that turns out, that'd be good to look that up. I love that. So I love your story. You've come from really hard times, and you definitely that was a very short version because I've heard the long
Mhm.
version,
Mhm.
and it is dramatic and traumatic as you've
Yes.
expressed. So tell us one of those vignettes. I think probably one of the most, I don't know, emotional ones for me was your trip to the airport for the first time. That was phenomenal how you shared that because I'm like,
Yes.
what? People need to understand the perspective and the way you tell it is like, it's really incredible. So share that with us, would you?
Yeah. So, 1993, it was time for, I graduated high school, time
Yeah.
to go to college. Now, let me go back a little bit.
Yeah.
My freshman, sophomore year, I, living with my mom. My sophomore year, we got evicted. So from my 11th and 12th grade year, I was like homeless, and I, went from house to house with friends and stayed
Yeah.
in their basement my last 2 years of high school. So then from that point, my grades plummeted. So I had nowhere to go to college, and so a friend on the team, James Pugh, his dad somehow got some connection to Bakersfield College.
Mhm.
And money back then, there was no faxes and emails and all that. So you send everything through the mail. You got to wait about a week for it to come back. And that's how we did it. And Money filled out all the paperwork for me. And I was just telling him, Money, I don't want to go because I had never been on a plane. One, I had never left the city of Greenville or the state of South Carolina. I had, and to be honest, I didn't even know or ever heard of Bakersfield. I never even heard of that.
You're going to
Yeah,
Mars, yeah.
yeah. And then when they told me it's thousands of miles away, I
Yeah.
was like, man, I can't do this. I just I didn't think that I can handle it emotionally.
Mhm.
And California and Greenville, it was just so vastly different.
Yeah.
And this is not even LA. This is a small part of
Yeah. Right.
California.
Right.
And now the way Bakerfield is like the way it is now because I was probably ahead of my time because right now you see everybody they wear fitted clothes.
Yeah.
That's how I wore them back then, but that wasn't the style. The style was the baggy pants and all
Sure.
that.
Yeah. MC Hammer. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a really, really thick accent. But to get back to the question, I did not want to go there. My guardian who took care of me, Monty and Jackie Broom, I just said, I want to get a job here and I don't want to go. And Monty and Jackie said, nope, we already paid for the ticket, flight 93. Delta Flight 93, the Los Angeles International Airport to Bakersfield, California. And on our way that morning, going to the airport, and Monty's, he had a silver Buick 2-door. And I remember riding in and I'm like crying, saying, Monty, I don't want to go, man. Please don't make me go. You know,
Here's
and then
this tough football player
yeah,
crying his eyes. I
yeah,
love
that
it.
was the toughest thing I had to deal with football ever. And you know, back then, Doug, you can go up with a passenger to the gate. There was it was pre 9/11.
Yeah.
And so as we're going up, I'm sitting there just begging him, please don't make me go. And I remember, you know, having to get on the plane because the stewardess said, okay, last call, we got to get on because we had assigned seats. So it was not like anyone was going to take my seat. And I remember I had a window seat. I was sitting beside an elderly woman and I'm just sitting there bawling, you know, just crying. And she was like, son, what is wrong? And I explained to her what the problem was that I didn't want to do. And she said, you gotta, believe in yourself. God wouldn't put you here, go through that type stuff.
Yep.
And I would say, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. And I'm looking out of the window and I can see Monty in the glass. I could see him. Yeah, I could see him. And then, he started to get emotional as I could see it as the plane was starting to, back up out of the gate and everything.
Yeah.
And I was, again, never being on a plane. I didn't know how that runway going really fast and then going up, because I was jumping and moving everywhere because I had never experienced that. So once we was in the air, I was like, I just had so many things go through my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how I'm going to survive this, because again, there was no cell phones, none of that way to communicate with anybody. So Monty wrote me a letter for an entire year every week to communicate with me. So he would send a letter from Greenville to Bakersfield, California. Back then, it took like a week.
Yeah,
for
right.
the mail to get
Now
there.
it takes a month.
Yeah. So when I got it, I immediately wrote him back, and then it would go back, and that's how we communicate. I didn't communicate with another soul from Greenville, South Carolina, but him.
Wow.
Yeah. And he told me, he said, George, if you can, I want you to go out there for a year. And if you don't like it after a year, you could come back. I'll help you get a job. And so, fast forward, everything worked out my freshman year and I loved it. I said, big man, I'm not coming back.
Nice.
I said, but again, he knew something and saw something in me that I couldn't see at 18 years old. Because I know that because it was another African-American friend of mine named Edward. He was offered to go to Bakersfield as well. And he said, no, I don't want to do it. Monty, can you help me get a job back here? Monty said, okay, I'll help you get a job.
Yeah.
But Monty and Jackie would not allow me to stay back there because they seen something that I couldn't see.
Yeah. I watched the movie The Blind Side before I met you.
Yes.
But as I'm watching that movie and listening to your story, we need to back up a little bit and tell them how Monty came into your life, because it was an actual angel as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Right? So tell us about that one.
So in 1987, his son, Nathan, we were in the 7th grade outside during we had this, field day.
Yeah.
And so I dominated, like outrunning everybody.
Yeah.
And so Nate was like, George, you want to come over to my house and visit? And he's a white kid, white family. And I'm like, I don't know.
Just so people know, you didn't have any white friends at this point. This is completely.
No, I mean, I had the friends at school, but I had never been over to a white person's house.
Right. Set the stage there, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm, how when you look at TV, they kind of not make fun, but they have like the napkin, and then you got the fork, the spoon, and all that stuff. I had never seen nothing like that before. Yeah. So he kept on asking me, and I said, yeah, I'll come. And, after school, I rode home with him and his mom, Jackie. And I remember, having food there, and I was like, I was so scared because, you got people who don't look like you've never really been around, and you're like, I hope I know how to fit in and do what they were doing, because I'm looking at how their arm placement is, how they doing with the fork, the knife, and I'm trying to mimic that as I'm eating. And so I can say from that point, it was educational. They gave me an education on different races and being around different people much quicker than had I not met the Brooms.
Right.
I wouldn't know how to. When I got to California, I was already groomed with that I can pretty much fit in with anybody.
Yeah.
So and as I went over there more and more, I got more comfortable, and Monty made that really easy, because he really, him and Jackie, they took me in and took care of me like I was their own flesh and blood son. So I like, it was hard for me to grasp that, because growing up, race relations were not good in South Carolina during the 80s. So and I was like, wow, this man is, he's saying all this stuff to me about I could be a good football player and all this, and I'm like, man, what is he saying to me? Is he like just trying to, get something from me and all that? And he had built my confidence up about myself so much, I believed every word that he said. Because I didn't, because I hadn't at that time had a male figure to talk to me like that and give me encouragement, because most of the time, I could give you an example. He asked me, Nate, who wants to cut the lawn and on the rider lawnmower? Nate said, man, I don't feel like doing it. I said, I'll do it. Now, mind you, Doug, I had never been on a rider lawnmower before. And I'm just remembering watching them do it. So I was doing a pretty good job by going down, turn around, down. So when it got to going around the mailbox, I didn't know how that turn was going to be.
It's tough.
And I couldn't stop the lawnmower, and it just cut down the whole mailbox. And when that happened, I'm like, oh my God, he is about to yell and scream at me. He's going to tell me I'm no longer welcome to come over here. And I was like petrified. I was scared to death. And he came over. He said, George, I appreciate you volunteering to do this. That's what I'm most proud about, that you actually did this. And I'm like thinking in my head, again, usually I get a whooping or get in trouble for that. And this man that doesn't look like me, don't have no economic or social background like me, gave me praise and said, I appreciate it. And so he said, George, the mailbox can be replaced.
That's right.
And to this day, I was just back there last April. And I took the boys, the family, Katie, everybody over to the house. And that stump that I knocked down 30 plus years ago is still in the yard under the grass. And got a new mailbox that was put in 1987 right there. So it was pretty crazy for that to happen. But the biggest thing that has ever happened to me in my life is the day I went over to the Broom's house, and Monty and Jackie accepted me for who I was and saw something in me that I didn't see. I don't know where. I know I wouldn't be talking to you right now had I not met them, and I refused to go over there. And at that point, going into my 8th grade year, Monty asked me, do I want to play on Nate's team? Again, I had never played with white kids sports. So I was like, well, I don't have money to pay for it. Don't worry about it. We'll pay for registration. I said, I don't have no equipment. Don't worry about it. I'll get your equipment and everything. Again, I'm like, it was hard to just process everything.
It's hard to receive when you've never received anything. When you start having someone offering something, like you said, without expecting anything in return, you're looking for the angle. Like, what does he want? What does he want? Like, nothing. He says,
and that's what I had a hard time with, because as I went through this with Monty and Jackie, I would pull away because they was trying to love me really, really hard and give. And I was like, I don't trust it. I will pull back, and then I will come back on my own time when I felt it was okay and safe. They take me back in with all the love and everything, and then I will go back again and say, nah, I don't want to do this. And they never gave up on me. Never.
How long did it take you to accept their gifts?
Well, it wasn't about accepting the gifts. It was about accepting the love, because at that
Okay, yeah.
time I hadn't had people to like really say, man, you know, I love you, I care for you. And they didn't have to say it with the word, is how they was treating me.
Right.
And so I just like, I was like, man, this is, it was just, I don't know. I think by the time I got into high school,
Mhm.
it was still kind of difficult, because life was still rough, because
Yeah.
I would play a great game in high school, and then everybody be on the field, and all the parents would sit here and say, George, that was a great game, you're an
Yeah.
amazing football player. And I'm like, thank you, ma'am. And in the back of my mind, I'm looking at her son and like, I wish I had his life. I wish I had his life. Two-parent home, nice home, food, TV, clothes, everything. Now, 3 hours after this football game, I'm getting driven about 30 minutes from school and dropped off in the blue van up at the top of my complex where I live at. And then once I get out of that van and walk down the street to where my apartment was located, reality comes back in.
Wow.
What I did 3-4 hours ago don't mean the hill of beans. You're back in the real world, in reality. And
It's like
so
a
that's
dual
just,
life. Yeah.
yeah, and that's just how it was. So it was just, it'll go that quickly. You get
Yeah.
on the line, you got ready to go home. And at that time, the coaches didn't want to take us home, because after the game, everybody was ready to go home.
Yeah.
Somebody was responsible for taking all the kids who live a ways from the school home, because
Yeah.
we didn't have transportation to get us to and from there unless
Mhm.
it was the bus. Hmm.
Wow. There's a lot more to your story. I know it's in a very popular best-selling book. You want to hold that book up there?
Yeah, the present dad right there.
Present Dad, baby. There it
For-
is.
Forward by my good mentor and good friend, Archie Manning.
Archie Manning. That's right.
Yes, Archie
Yes.
Manning, one of the best human beings out there.
Yep. So let's talk about that a little bit, because all of our authors want to, obviously we appreciate your all your vulnerability with your story and whatnot, and people
Mhm.
love the sports thing. But I'd like to hear how you approach Archie, because we're looking at someone who's like
Mhm.
basically, a real celebrity, him and his sons, of
Mhm.
course. And you just pick up the phone and called him, I think. How'd it go when you asked a question?
Well, now I could just pick up the phone or text him, but
Yeah.
I would say about 6-7 years ago, you know, Katie, I asked Katie, I said, Katie,
Katie's your wife.
when
Yeah.
GJ, my wife Katie, who's
Yeah.
CEO of the National Domestic Violence Hotline,
Mhm.
I said, Katie, can you, when I'm coaching the boys and they're playing games, can you record? Because I want to have the recording, so when they get older and they have their own kids,
Yeah.
they can show their kids what they look like and played at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So as I'm going back and I'm looking at it, I'm like, who is that guy out there? I was a lunatic. I was loud. I mean, and I felt so horrible
Yeah.
as a person and as a father. I'm like looking at it because I'm looking through the eyes of a former professional running back, and I'm saying, GJ, why can't you see what I see? And GJ was giving his best. He was giving as much as he had in his little body at that
Yeah.
time. And I just kept trying to get more and more when there was nothing left.
Yeah.
And I felt really bad. I still to this day apologize to GJ about that.
Yeah.
And so I felt that my relationship with the boys was like widening, not for good. It was,
Yeah.
widening that way.
Yeah.
And so about a week or so after that, I was on ESPN watching TV, and I seen this documentary called The Book of Manning.
Right.
And it's about the Manning family, starting with Archie, who talked about his relationship with his father, and his father who never said he loved him and all that. And so when he ended up having his sons with his wife, college sweetheart Olivia,
Yeah.
they had Cooper first, then they had Peyton, then they had Eli.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it, and they're going up there with them to the Saints and back at Ole Miss, and
Yeah.
family films with them playing in the backyard, and Archie is just calm, through all of this. He's not yelling, he's not screaming, he's not putting a bunch of expectations. And I'm like, and I'm getting emotional watching it. And I'm like, wow, man, that's the type of father I need to be. So I reached out, got in contact with Archie, and we played phone tag a couple of times. And then he called me, and we were on the phone for about 3 hours. And I just said, full transparency, I said, Archie, I will, love for you to mentor me and help me to be a better father like you. And I said, this is how I am as a father. This is how I am as a coach. This is how I am at football games. This is how I am with everyday life. Can you help me to be a better father so I can be closer to my kids, my boys? Yeah. And so he started giving me little tips on what he did with Cooper and Peyton and Eli. And he said, okay, try some of this and then, call me back in a couple of weeks. And then we could, if that doesn't work, we could try something else. And so once I took the information and put it in my toolbox and I started implementing in my day-to-day life, the relationship with me and the boys went from like 1 to 1,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Like, again, somebody who was very successful as a football player, and now he's very successful as a father. And he told me that he was the way he was because he didn't want to be the father that his father was to him.
Right.
And so, and that basically is the same thing to me. I didn't have a father growing up. So I thought, and I was and Doug, I hope people can understand, I was being a father to the boys on the type of father that I wanted for myself, which is I wanted a father that was very demanding in sports, that that drove me, that pushed me to go my absolute. The boys wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know that I had to father and parent them a different way. And so in that documentary and talking to Archie and him helping me, it's one of the greatest things in the world to me. And I'm just grateful just to know him and, be friends with him and the family and being able to pick up the phone anytime I need to just ask a question. And him, writing the foreword for the book is just, he was like honored. And I'm like, I was shaking to death to even ask him. And he, so him, like Monty, him, and Coach Bowser at Bakersfield are the three men who was most influential in my life as a human being, as a football player, everything. Those three guys, and the three commonalities with the three is they're older white men that don't look nothing like me. and that's the one thing that I want to get out to people who listening to this. Just because somebody is your family member biologically by blood doesn't mean they are the right person to lead you. You go off of how individuals treat you. That's how you base how you want people to be in your life. Not because you have to say, well, they're my brother or they're my uncle, I have to be close to them. No, you don't. If they don't treat you the way you need to be treated, go and get and find somebody to treat you that way. They don't have to look like you. They don't have to be in the same economic or social class as you. Go and again ask for help. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable as a man to ask another man, could you please help me to be a better husband and father?
Yeah. And that's probably one of the topics I know you want to cover. So let's get into that. You talk about emotional health and, we know the stereotypes, men are, hey, don't be like a girl and you're not supposed to cry and all that stuff. And we talked before about that one movie, Fatherhood. And you said you couldn't even finish a movie. It's like, I can't even watch this thing.
Yes.
It was well done, by the way. I love it. But tell us about your perspective on that and give us some advice on how we can help ourselves be vulnerable and still retain our, machismo.
Well, I would say for me, a lot of it goes back to, how you were raised, your childhood. And for me, I was one of those, I had a lot of emotional trauma and I didn't deal with it until my 40s because I was afraid to ask people for help because, playing football is a very ego-driven sport. Just like you said, when a little kid falls down or he's playing in the game, he get the wind knocked out of him. What do you hear the father say? get up and stop crying.
Uh-huh.
They
Yeah.
say that 99% of the time.
Yep.
So me and Katie tried to teach the boys it is okay to feel sad,
Mm-hmm.
be happy, to be angry, to be frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Show your emotions because I think that's a sign of growth.
Yeah.
I do. And so as I was going through me and you with you guys doing the book and writing everything, all the stuff that was just buried in my subconscious for 40 plus years start to rear its ugly head. And so
I'm also a therapist and a publisher, apparently, right? So
yeah. So then from that point, I started,
yeah.
I had before that, 4 years before, we come together to do the book, I had already been diagnosed with depression, anxiety. But again, I was one of the people who had the ego that said, no, doctor, you're wrong. There's nothing wrong with me. Yeah, I'm not listening to you. So when it came back, like it was right during COVID, right after COVID,
Mm-hmm.
it was too much for me to handle.
Yeah.
And I had to make a decision as a man and as a father and family man and husband. Am I going to get the help and ask for help? Or am I going to just sit here and keep this to myself so people wouldn't look at me in a certain way and stigmatize me? So I just said, you know what? I'm going to do this so I can be the best possible husband and the best father to our three boys.
Right.
And it has been the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I promise you, Doug. At first, I didn't believe in what the doctors were saying, and because he was like, George, is going to take 4 to 6 weeks for the medication to work. I said, Doc, I ain't got 4 to 6 weeks. I need to be able to function now. And so with hard work and being diligent, and I attacked this just like I attacked football and fatherhood. I gave it the same respect. And so now it's been, so I think it happened about September.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost, we're going on a year now, and it's been the greatest thing.
Nice.
I mean, life is just so much calmer and at peace. And I was one of those type of individuals that I was in so much pain and silence that I would welcome a confrontation with anybody. And so because I was like, if I got in a fight or something with this person, I can make this person feel the pain that I'm in, make them feel the pain that I feel on a daily basis. And so now I no longer feel that pain. Now confrontations and yelling and getting in arguments, I don't do it. If somebody is driving and they stick up the middle finger, I would usually go crazy. Now I just feel like this.
I just wave. I smile.
And I just keep on going. And I just feel so at ease now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I wish I would have did this earlier in life. But it didn't happen for me. But that's why I'm here to tell my story and my journey with mental health to everybody who wants to hear it.
Yep.
If you don't want to hear it, you don't have to listen. But I'm going to say it as many times as I can because it has done wonders for me. It's made me a better human being, a better father, a better husband. So I'm going to continue to tell as many people as possible, and hopefully, we can help young people like high schoolers and stuff at an early age, so they don't have to wait and get help like I did in my 40s.
Right. So I know when we first started about talking to do the book, you were really a little bit hesitant about doing the book. So your message is obviously about mental health and fatherhood, or what's the main message here? What do you want?
Mental health and fatherhood, because I think they go hand in hand.
Right.
Because I don't think I could have been a good father had I not tackled these issues with mental health.
Right.
So I think it goes hand in hand, especially if you as a young person has had a lot of traumatic things go on in your young childhood and seeing domestic violence and drugs and all the stuff that us kids that come from the projects see on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah. And I know you got some really good tutorials there too in the book, some things that people actually not just hear your story, but you got very clear things a person can do to become a better father. So
the 7 pillars.
Yeah, you want just don't give all 7. Want to say
so
give us the top 2 or 3.
I would say I will give active and I will get steadfast.
All
So
right.
steadfast is my favorite. So
Yeah.
active. Most of us as fathers, a lot of them say this is the hardest one. And people are like, why would the hardest one be active? Because you got people who work 2 or 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They got a bunch of kids, and then when they go to work and get off work, they're just bone tired.
Yeah.
I want to go to sleep. I want to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for us to be the best possible father to our kids and to be there for the long haul, we have to have some type of activity in our life, whether it's walking, meditating. Start with hydration, making sure you drink enough water throughout the day. And then the more you can do it, and up the levels to walking 1 lap or walking a half a mile, a quarter mile a day, just getting some type of exercise so you can be there and see your kids grow up from little kids up to young adults, and they have their family that you can sit there and teach them what you've learned through all the years.
Yeah.
That's the one that most people say is the hardest one, and my favorite one is steadfast, which is delayed gratification. Most young people, even me included, when I was a young person, I wanted to be fast, big, strong, right now. I don't want to wait. I don't want to work for it or anything. And so I try to tell and relay that to our boys about delayed gratification. You don't want to peak and get everything given to you so early in life, like 8th grade, 9th grade, because once you get all that, you have no work ethic and no reason to work the last 3 years of high school. So if you're steady improving your freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and then you at your maximum peak your senior year, you would enjoy it more and it would be more gratifying for you. Because if you, again, I hate using sports as an example, if an individual works his way and getting a Power 5 scholarship to college, when he gets to college, he will be more prepared than that person who got a scholarship in the 8th grade, because that person hasn't probably worked hard in like 4 years.
Yeah.
But when we have to consciously chip away each year, and I use Michael Jordan as an example. If Michael Jordan can wait to the 11th and 12th grade to get the gifts from God and the stuff be bestowed upon him, everybody else can wait.
That's right.
Because everybody know his story. He got cut from his varsity team, went home crying. Mom said, get back up and start working. And now his work ethic took him all the way to the great things that he does now. So delayed gratification, steadfast is my favorite one, because I think everybody should work hard and not chase something. Work hard, be a good son, daughter, be a good human being, and hopefully the gifts are bestowed upon you when the good Lord and others think you have earned the right for them.
Love that, man. I that's that great closing to the show. Hold the book up again. Tell people that The Present Dad by George Jones, 4 by Archie Manning, 7 principles to make you a better dad, a better person. Oh, thank you very much, George. Appreciate that. And in the show notes below, you can get a link to his book as well as your foundation. So let's close on that, George, and let people know how they can actually help the cause of getting more present dads and a better society here.
Yeah, the Present Dad Foundation, we just started it last year, is doing very well. And our job and our goal is to help other fathers who were previously like me to be more present dads in their kids' lives right now. And again, we're not asking them to go from 1 to 100. We're asking them to go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. So just try to make some little changes. Again, for example, if you are with your son or daughter and they say, Dad, could we go outside and shoot basketball? If you go out there with your son or daughter, put your phone in your pocket, put the computer down, and participate and be right there with your son or daughter, because those precious times, your daughter and son will never forget it. But what they will remember is, I'm doing that and you texting, you're on your laptop. They will remember that. They will remember it. So, I mean, again, it's hard to turn that switch and, go from being and now, Doug, you're there present in human form, but I'm saying being present mentally as well.
Yep.
Knowing what's going on in your kids' life, being in tune on what's going on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
That's what I think we're trying to do here and help
Mhm.
other guys to get closer and be present dads to their kids, because I think and I believe all kids should have a present dad. I
Yeah.
really do believe that, because we just did the studies earlier
Mhm.
about dads being in the home.
Yeah.
The chances of that kid being successful 80%.
Yep.
The chances if the father is not in home, it goes down a lot, and most time the kid ends up with the pregnancy, drug addiction,
Right.
all that stuff. So
Yep.
alcoholism. So
Yeah.
I challenge every guy to try to be a better father and be
Mhm.
more present for their son and daughter.
Outstanding. I love it. So the link for the foundation is below. I'm going to make my donation right now, as I promised you, George.
Yeah.
Present Dad Foundation, as well as his book. Check it out, George. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you having the show today.
Yeah. So it'll be thepresentdad.com/foundation.
You got it. It'll be right
Yeah.
there below. So we have show notes here below. So
Okay. Well,
all right.
I look forward. Doug, I appreciate you having me on the show.
You bet.
It's awesome to talk to you whenever we can.
You
I'll
got
be
it.
looking for the donation. I'll tell you when I receive it. I appreciate everything. Tell your lovely wife, Jen, I missed her today, and continue to do great things with you guys.
You got it. Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thank you, buddy.
All right. You bet. That concludes the show for today. Check out his book and make sure you donate to that foundation. It's going to help out the world. And who knows, it might not be as angel like his friend Monty, but you can definitely make a difference. So appreciate you. Have a good time and see you next time. All right. Good job. We're going to keep rolling here. Wonderful. Yeah. We have another client in Austin now.
Oh, do you?
A software company. So there's a good chance I might be down there to actually shoot some video for them. If I do, I'll let you know. We'd love to come out and take you guys to dinner or something. So
Yeah. You and Jen, come on now.
yeah, I'll keep posting on that. So as I told you beforehand, I'm going to do this marketing thing for all my clients. So since you're on the podcast today, what I want to do is keep the recording going here and just talk freely about what it was like working with me and how it's changed your life. Because I remember very clearly, I don't have the video here, but I remember what you were very nervous about. Is anyone going to listen to me? Can I really be an author? You got a lot of doubts about the whole process. And now you're like on Ebony Magazine, you got a TEDx talk, you're like a rock star. So I want you to go back and tell us about what it was like beforehand, like nervous, unsure, and now you're like, celebrity.
Yeah. So, well, it all started from my friend David Granger. He reached out to you and said, I got a buddy who wants to write a book. And then you contacted me, and then we started talking. And I remember I was like, man, I don't know, Doug, man, I don't know if I want to do this. And it had nothing to do with like cost or nothing like that. It was that I did not think it could be successful. And you kept saying, George, I'm telling you, it's going to be a hit. You're going to do well. You got a story that people want to hear. And, just like most people, they're like, yeah, he's just saying that so he get business. But everything you said came true. Everything you said came true. If I needed something or needed to text you about something, you hit me right back like that. And so, I had never been down this road before, and I can honestly say, out of anybody that's ever I've used for services, I've never had a hard time getting in contact with you. You giving me what I needed in a timely fashion, and the staff that you had, they was just amazing. With Jen and your current wife now, and all the people who was working with us through this whole process, it was just amazing. And Doug, and I appreciate you taking the time to encourage me to do this. You taking the time to believe in my story and believe in what I was trying to get out to the public. And I don't think it could have went any seamlessly with anybody else. You did an amazing job, or making sure everything went out according and how it was supposed to go out on time. On Father's Day, it was a big hit. It became bestseller. So it was just an amazing time, and I'm incredibly thankful that the first person that my friend emailed on LinkedIn ended up being a hit because I didn't even go to anybody else.
That's what we like it. Thank you so much for those words. That mean a lot to me. And I to be really clear, I don't always tell everybody I believe in them.
I
know it sounds like a sales thing, but you'd be surprised. Some people are like, no, you need your story. Your story isn't interesting.
Yeah,
yours definitely is.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little clue on? I was so impressed with what you've done since the book came out, because a lot of people, they might write their own book or have us write their book, but they don't do anything with it. You've taken this whole platform, foundation. You've been a TEDx talk. You're on, Ebony Magazine Radio. You've done so much with that. Give us a rundown, all the things that have happened to you since you've become a best-selling author.
So once we got the notion that we were best-selling authors, then we started doing a little publicity with you when I did the first on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then from there, when it was on LinkedIn, people was just like, wow, we're just fascinated with your story and who's your author, who wrote everything. And then I will go on, I will tell about my interactions with you. And then it just kept going from little stuff to medium stuff. Like you said, the Ebony, where they got millions of people viewing it. And, I went on there, and you remember I told you beforehand, I'm doing this with a female, and I'm very nervous. Hopefully I do well. And you was like, George, you're going to knock it out of the park.
I love you.
Yeah. Then I went from there. Then I remember I went out to Alabama and I had to speak at the thing out there, and things just kept getting better and better. But I think it's you guys pushing everything and putting it on LinkedIn. And that's where I got all the traction from, was on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
When you guys start pushing it on there, and then people would just come out of the blue. Can you come on the podcast? Can you talk about this and that? And it just grew. It just blew up. And again, that's because of you guys having a wherewithal on knowing where to put it at to get the most views and to get the biggest traction from it.
That's right. I'm very, very grateful to work with you. When is your TEDx talk coming up, by the way? When's it going to be?
It's April 29th. I got to be out there April 28th, and we will do like all the speakers, will gather, do networking, meet each other. And then I speak, all of us speak on April 29th, and I'm in the prime time.
Nice.
Like they say it's premiere time, whatever. That's my spot.
It's a good
so
time.
I'm going to go out there, and basically I'm going to tell my story, Doug. That's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell my story about who I am, fatherhood, dealing with mental health, and bringing it all together to where I'm at now, and telling everybody, look, I'm no different than you. I've gone through all this, and I've come out on the positive side of this.
Right.
Every father can do this if he wants to really do it. It's all about, but it took a lot of hard work, and it took a lot of me being vulnerable, letting other people know that I've had a lot of failures in life and I got a lot of flaws, but I didn't let that dictate how I was going to live the rest of my life and how I was going to be as a father.
Right. And you've also had discussions with Netflix and Tyler Studios and stuff. There's like a lot of things percolating here too, right?
Yeah, a lot of things percolating, and we're just going to keep, doing the best work we can for people and putting the best content and the best stuff out to the public. And again, like before we started the show, if we help one person, then we've done a good job. If you can help one person with being a better father, being a better husband, or mental illness with their struggles and journeys to go get themselves help, and so they could be a better person in life.
Yeah, outstanding. That's really great. Do they have someone to help you with the TED Talk, or they just go out and just do it, or they have a...
No. So Katie did everything, the writing, because she's been with me my whole life, so she know everything.
Right.
So basically, it'll talk about who I am, then it'll go into me being why the word, that 3-letter word dad, is just a simple word to a lot of people because they've said it so many times. I never got to say that. Wow. Then I go, and then you go into, middle school, high school, then I go into college, and then I go into GJ as a teen, and then like all that type stuff like that. And I tell about, so I'm going to tell about, like it'll start off, I'll give you a quick, it'll start off. What do you see when you look at me? You see a committed husband, a stay-at-home father, a caretaker to a son with special needs, a person who's never touched drugs or alcohol, a person who cries, a person who courageously fights, courageously attacks mental health struggles like anxiety and depression, and an avid fan of Grease 2. Yes, you heard me, ladies and gentlemen, Grease 2. I'm all of those things. But when I'm out in the public, grocery stores, wherever it may be, most people come up to me all the time and ask me, did you play football?
That's right, because you're...
Yeah. And I say most of the time people do that because of my physique. Yeah. And my response to people is, no. I'm just a dad. And that word right there, dad, is a simple word to most people. To me, it's a different word because I only heard that word when my friends said it in high school, and I was envious of all of them. And then I'll go on about not have like.
You're gonna kill it. You're gonna kill it. When that thing is done, I wish I could come out. We bought a house. We're moving on the 27th of April.
Nice.
Otherwise, we'd definitely come down there and see it. But when the recording's ready, make sure you submit recording.
Well, what I'm gonna do is I'll send you the link. You'll be able to see it live.
Yeah, send me the link. But I want the recording. When I build this page of my authors of influence, which you'll be one of them, it'll be your TEDx talk, the podcast, new press release, like I said. Yeah. And we're going to do that. There'll be a whole lot of content. We're going to cut it up and send it every day for a whole month. So you'll see a boost in your profile when we roll that. I don't know what month it'll be, but it'll be sometime this year. So yeah.
Okay. Appreciate it, man. It's always a pleasure to be on with the great Doug. Again, like I said, I miss Jen. I was hoping to see her and ask her about her exercise regimen. She's still doing it.
Oh shit! Oh God, we're both in trouble. We're both in trouble there. Hey, Jen, you have a second? George wants to say hi before we hang up. She's very busy, but she wants to say real quickly say hello, I guess. Okay.
So you guys buying a house? Is it a brand new house or is it?
Yeah, it's brand new construction. The problem with the exercise was we got a dog back in a few months ago, and it's like the schedule got all whacked out. So it's an excuse.
There she goes, the one and only Jen.
Oh, he wants to say hi.
George.
How are you doing?
Sorry,
It's okay.
It's so hot here.
Jen, I asked Doug to put you on I wanted to see how your exercise regimen has been going. Remember the last time we talked, you was talking about, you got to keep yourself in great shape and everything. And I was wondering
I'm sorry, the connection's bad right now. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of things we can discuss today. Let's put this aside. Let's put this subject on.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing, my friend. It's embarrassing. I gotta go.
Well, Jen, you're married now. You've got the catch. So hey, you just relax now.
No, we're not going to do that, Jones.
We've started our low carb since Monday.
Low carb since Monday. No alcohol, and I'm gonna get back in my weight training again. So
I would say now don't go too crazy with the low carbs because usually if you go too crazy, you're gonna break eventually and eat something with a lot of carbs, and then you're gonna be like, I'm gonna eat this again. I will start back tomorrow. And
I said that for a year,
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And so I would just say basically
so undisciplined.
Like portion. That's all you got to do, just portion out the food and make sure if you're eating out, you don't get 2 hamburgers and 2 things of fry. You get 1 hamburger and 1 fry. And
we're gonna hopefully see you this month, and we'll you can smack us around some more. That'd be good.
I try. I'm still doing what I always do.
I know, cardio at night, weight training. I know.
Yeah, that's why
I can't get out of shape because GJ and Cooper won't allow it.
Good. That's good. Why? I have a dog that won't allow it.
Yeah. Nice. I'm so happy for you guys that's getting a house and everything.
Yeah, I told me we got a house. We have
Jen, you in the States forever now. You're not going to leave and be going to another country.
No. She got a green card last week.
Nice.
So we are able to go to another country, but okay, he's like 6 dogs.
Hey,
But, yeah.
Now,
So we're
whose dog is it? Who does the dog like the most?
I don't know why, because I'm the one that takes it out more and plays with it, but she I don't know. They
I can't even. I don't have no room in my bed. We got 3 dogs and Katie in the bed, and I get like a edge of the bed.
We had her sleep in the bed for the first 3 months, and then like 2 weeks ago, we're like, screw this. And I said, get out of here. I thought it'd take her 2 weeks to learn. And one night she was retrained not to go in the bed anymore.
Nah, man, our dogs, they'll sit there at the door and whimper all night and do all that. So I'm like, man, I don't feel like hearing this, man. I gotta go to bed.
Oh yeah, pick your battles. All right, I gotta get another call, my friend.
All
I
right,
will be in touch. I'll have
appreciate
this thing all
everything.
organized for us, and we'll be in touch.
Jen, nice seeing you again.
I see
All right,
you.
let's see
Y'all
ya.
have a good one.
Thanks.
Congrats on the house.
All right, thank you so much. Bye bye.
All right, buddy.